Hi guys, it's Candace from Beacon Hill Books. I'm here with my August wrap-up. I feel like I've been talking about these books for a really long time, so I'm going to try and make this really brief. So I finished 8 books in August. One was a graphic novel, and it was a pretty good reading month. I think they were all 3 stars or higher. The first book that I finished, which I've talked about quite a lot, was The Luminaries by Eleanor Catton. That was like 2 days in, we finished a buddy read. I rated that a 3.5, round up to 4 on Goodreads. It was an enjoyable book, historical fiction, but didn't really get into the historical fiction. It was definitely a character-driven book and quite the complex narratives of many, many people. Then I finished The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa. That was our Read Around the World book club pick for the month. And this was the first book I feel like we all agreed on the most since joining the group. I feel like there has been a lot of differing opinions most months. But The Housekeeper and the Professor, everybody really did enjoy. I rated it 4 stars, and I think most people did around that. It's just a great, quaint little story about a housekeeper. And she gets employed by professor's relative to take care of him because he loses his memory. And the housekeeper has a son who the professor names Root. And how they get along with their lives given their situation, with the professor with his memory problems and the housekeeper with her. She's a single mom. They don't have a ton of money. They become a unit of a sort, and what they all gain from that. I thought it was a beautiful story, and I really enjoyed it. Next book I finished was Golden Hill by Frances Spufford. This was a buddy read with Cheryl from See Our Flames fan. We both really liked it. It came highly acclaimed. It's a historical fiction based in Manhattan in 1746, and there was some really nice parts to this book. I liked the descriptions of the town when it was just a fledgling city, still not to the magnificence it is today, and just the smelliness of it and the dirtiness of it. I felt like I was transported there. However, I think Cheryl and I both felt we had high expectations going in. The ending was great. The ending bumped this book up for me, but the story, we kind of had no clue where it was going until the end. And I didn't like being left so untethered that I couldn't quite follow along. I still really enjoy this, and I recommend it for people that like historical fiction. But I think, I was thinking this would be a 5-star book for me, and I ended up rating it a 2.5 or a 3. So I would definitely pick up other Spufford books, but this just wasn't as enjoyable to me. In the middle, it lagged. So that's my thoughts on that. The next book I read was Cleopatras Shadows by Emily Holleman. This book is a historical fiction based on Cleopatra's sisters. So Cleopatra really doesn't play a part. We follow Berenice and Arsinoe. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. Mel says it better than me. I want to say Arsinoe. But their father, all of their father, gets run out of town, and Berenice sort of takes over, and her mother has been really treated badly by her father and replaced by Cleopatra's mother. So there's a lot of bitterness and frustration and, redemption that Berenice wants to kind of show her father as well as Egypt. And then her little sister, Arsinoe, she's so little that she's really, Berenice's advisors tell her that she should be killing off her little sister because she could be used as a pawn, but Berenice decides against it. Also, Arsinoe finds ways to get into Berenice's heart, and it just follows for a very, very brief period of time when Bernice has control. I also went into this book with very high expectations. I think I saw on Steve Donahue's channel that it was one of his most surprised books for the year. And I do think I will read the second book in the series about one of the brothers, but it did fall short for me and also for Mel, from Mel's Bookland Adventure. She was reading it around the same time as I did. I think I rated this a 3. The next book I read was Prince Charles, The Passions and Paradoxes of an Improbable Life, and this was written by Sally Bedell Smith. And I really did enjoy this book, actually. At times I felt like it read like a People magazine, and other times I learned so much that, I really didn't know a lot about Prince Charles, and I spoke about this a bit more in my video. I'm glad I read it. It kind of is nice to sometimes hear the other side of the story. I think recently, given the anniversary of Princess Diana's death, there's been so many TV shows out there about her, and Prince Charles does get quite villainized. I'm not saying he's not at fault, but it was interesting to learn about him and his backstory, about some of that British politics that I just really wasn't aware of. So I give that 4 stars. The next book I read was an ARC. It was The History of Bees by Maja Lunde. And I had, again, high expectations for this book. I talked about it quite a lot in some of my wrap-ups, so I won't go into too much right now. I ended up giving it a 3.5, so 4 on Goodreads, but the middle again lagged for me. It had a lot of potential, and I liked the ending again, where kind of the 3 storylines kind of merge in a way. It's told in 3 different time periods, and it all has common threads about bees, and as also offspring, particularly sons, but within these 3 families that we're following, it's really one main character, but all the family is impacted. I then read I Hate Fairyland Volume 1, Madly Ever After by Skottie Young. I just felt like I needed something fresh. I can't believe this was my first graphic novel of the year, and it's August. I went on a real binge last year, and I really was drawn to this because of the bright colors and sort of, visuals. It's almost like Fairyland, but then it has a very dark side to it. It's quite violent, actually. But I like Skottie Young's illustrations. I would pick up another one. I gave it 3 stars. It was not like the most amazing story. I found just the visuals of it gratifying. And then I finished Fool's Fate. That is the 3rd book in the Tawny Man trilogy, and wow. I had to revisit this book because I started reading it, and sometimes if you read Robin Hobb back to back, you can either be really, really driven to finish it, or you can kind of need a break. And I needed a break after Tawny Man 2, but I think this book was the best in the series, for sure. For me, the story was just so much stronger. The characters, the plot, everything. I loved how a lot of the loose ends got tied up. I gave this book 5 stars. I really, really, really enjoyed this book, and I'm just impressed again by Robin Hobb. Like, some people might think this was long, but at no point when I was in the right mood to read this was I like, oh, this story is dragging. There were so many little intricacies of the story that I enjoyed learning about. And because I had read this book out of order, I've already finished all the Fits in the Fool series to kind of learn about characters that I didn't know as much, kind of filled in some gaps for me that I really enjoyed. So I absolutely love this book. And at the last day of the month, I finished Traitor's Blade, which is Great Coat Series number 1. I also did this as a buddy read with Cheryl at Sierra Flames fan. And we both really, really liked this book. What a fun book. Like, it is light, like a fantasy light book. My library is categorized as humor fiction as well because it is light. After reading all these books, it was so nice to kind of read it was still a great story, but like a refreshing, light read. And there's like bad things that happen in this book, like killings and other things, but it was still very, very enjoyable. As soon as Cheryl gets the second book, we'll read will read that. I really liked it. And it was nice that it wasn't super long, like a lot of fantasy series are very, very long books. And I think the story was perfect. I really liked the ending. I liked the characters, the 3 characters, a lot. The female characters I really enjoyed. And the king that unfortunately has died. I love how loyalty and just really whole goodness is so important to the king and Falcio. So that's what I will say about that. I really, really enjoyed watching all of your guys' wrap-ups, and I hope September is a great reading month for everyone as well. Have a good one. Bye.